What's up, guys, and welcome back to the last lesson of support and resistance. This is going to be part 3. So in today's part, we're going to be talking about different areas of support and resistance in different time frames, right? Like I said earlier in this course when I was showing you guys trading view, right? I did speak about these time frames over here. Now, something that I want you guys to pay very close attention, right? Because this is where a lot of traders get things mixed up. This is where a lot of traders, they start going against the trend and not trading with the trend. Pretty much that's where they're going to lose mostly of their trade. Now, here's the reason why. Earlier, I told you that there is many different time frames, right? As you guys can see, we have 5 minute, we have 15, 30, 1 hour, 4 hour, 2 hour, daily, weekly, monthly, right? Now, something that you guys got to keep in mind every single day. Whenever price on the monthly, well, in this case, let's say on the weekly time frame, right? We're going to start off on the weekly. Whenever price on the weekly time frame and the daily time frame continues being in a bullish market, right? You see price action just breaking highs, right? For example, we see market literally just doing this. This is considered as a bullish trend, right? So if the higher time frame, let's say the daily, the weekly, and the 4-hour time frame, if it continues showing that price action is continuation of bullish, then the market is overall bullish, right? So moral of the story in this one is that the higher the time frame is, the stronger the trend is gonna be. So if the trend on the 4-hour time frame is bullish, on the daily time frame is bullish, on the weekly time frame is bullish, it's gonna be bullish overall, right? That means that you're only interested in looking for buying position, right? Yes, don't get me wrong, there is gonna be times when the market do offer you guys counter trend trade, right? Now, what exactly is counter trend trade? So counter trend trade, right? I personally like to take those as well. Obviously, I take them if it does make sense. If it doesn't make any sense, then I'm not gonna be even risking any 1%, 0.5%. Only if it makes sense, right? Now, these are obviously considered as a high risk trade, right? But again, it has to make sense. They have to tell you, hey, it's gonna go a little bit lower. You can probably sell the market here, or it's gonna go a little bit higher. You can buy the market there, right? So counter trend trade, sell or buy. Pretty much what it means is that let's say that price action is in a higher time frame, creating higher highs and higher lows, right? If you guys notice the structure, right, we have areas of resistance, right, which turns into support. Areas of resistance over here, which obviously turns into support. Now, like I always said in the past videos, right, always look at previous past price action, right? Previous price action is always going to tell you guys, give you guys an idea what market can pretty much do in the future, right? So let's say that in the future, well, in the past, price action comes into an area of resistance, right? And overall, we're pretty much focusing on this trend over here overall, right? So let's put this in a different color. Let's put this in orange. We're only focusing in this trend right over here. This was past price action, right? Now, the idea of looking at past price action is for context clue. Whatever happens here, because again, we have areas of support, resistance, which in the future, it can either act as support or resistance, right? So this is where it gives you guys context clues. Hey, we're going to continue pushing either higher or we're going to continue pushing lower. Now, counter trend trade, sell or buy, right? It's pretty much just taking a sell or buy off a reversal, right? So if we're focusing on this trend over here, what are these things doing? These points over here, they're simply creating higher lows. Those are called reversal, right? This is pretty much where price action is reversing into areas of interest. In this case, it's going to be areas of resistance, right? Now, let's say that in past price action did come back into areas of resistance. Boom, we have a resistance zone here. Price action is back at a resistance zone over here. Now, let's say your idea trade is to continue buying the market, right? Why? Because price action has broken above these previous highs over here, right? So have this in mind. Since price action has broken above these areas over here, your idea is to now look for the pullback, right? So counter trend trade, sell or buy, in this case, we're going to talk about buy, is that whenever price action does reaches an area of resistance in the previous past action, we are seeing that price action is weak. We're seeing that buyers are no longer in control, meaning that buyers are now taking their profit from this position over here. We're seeing weak buyer opportunities, right? What we're going to wait for? We're going to wait for the same exact thing. We're waiting for rejection of these areas of resistance, and obviously we're going to wait for our entry confirmation, which is going to be the lower time frame break of structure and pullbacks, right? So if price action gave us all of those confirmations, right, and it makes sense that, okay, it does give me all the confirmation, we are rejecting this zone, right, we're respecting it, we're trading it under it, then yes, this is a zone where you guys can take the counter trend trade, buy or sell, right? This is where I do recommend you guys to use little bit of a stop loss, right? I personally, whenever I trade gold, I use like somewhere between the 60 to the 80 pips, right? There's gonna be times that I do raise very low on the stop loss, but again, like I told you guys, stop loss really doesn't matter. It's just how you position your size with the lot size, right? So let's say in this case, we're taking the counter trend trade sell, right? Okay, we have our confirmations and everything. We're gonna be targeting back into this previous highs over here, because ideally, this is where I'm waiting for price action to pull back. Boom, if it pulls back, we do hit our target. Now, what do we wait for here? We're gonna wait for the same exact thing that happened right over here and the same thing that happened right over here, right? Which is just rejection. So if price action, we do hit that counter trend trade sell or buy, right? In this case is sell. We do see that price action perfectly played out exactly how we planned. Perfect, we did secure our position over here. Now we're waiting for our bigger plan, which is trading with the trend, right? So this is trading with the trend. If price action comes over here, we are seeing that price action is perfectly rejecting it, remaining itself above. Okay, we wait for the same thing, break a structure, pull back. If it gives our entry, we're taking the buy position back into the upside. So we did win one trade over here, and now we waited for our original plan, which is taking the long-term buys, right? Enter the market there, our stop loss in the previous lows, and then obviously target previous price actions, right? So boom, we have taken two trades and we have won. Now again, counter trend trade, sell or buy is going to be very risky, right? It's going to be considered as a risky trade because you're trading against the trend. The only way I do recommend you guys to take the trade if it only makes sense. Same exact story happens whenever price action is heading to the downside, right? Plays both ways. Whenever price action breaks on the previous lower lows, which is areas of support, we form a new low, right? You guys look left. We have a zone of support. What are we going to wait for? We're going to wait for rejection. Once we get a rejection, a break of structure, we do see that price action does remain itself above it. We're taking buy position, which is counter trend trade buys, because again, we're trading with against a trend. This is why it's recommended to be, or this is why it's mean that it's risky, high risk, because we're trading against the trend. But only take the trade if it makes sense, right? And not now. I don't mean to take every single trade every single time that price action does that, because again, there's gonna be times where price action comes into these zones, gives a little bounce, and boom, takes you out of stop loss, right? Because those are three different ways that price action taps into the zones, which I'm going to explain to you guys that in the next video, which is the market structure, right? There's going to be times where the price action has mini gaps, right? Doesn't really taps into, or we have the gap over here, which price action really doesn't tap it, and then starts heading back into a downside. We also have the overlap, which price action does something like this, and we also have the perfect thing, which is simply the touch, right? So what we want, it's for price action to obviously touch over here for us to go with the trend, right? But this is why it's considered risky, because again, there could be time the price can just overlap or gap it. Gap these zones, right? Let's say, for example, it does something like this, it gaps it, and then boom, heads back into the downside, and what happens next? It takes you out of the trade, right? There's gonna be times that price action can do that, because again, it's considered high risk because we're trading against the trend, right? So I always have to make sense, right? So this is the idea of trading with a counter trend trade buy or sell, right? Pretty much it adds up the same exact thing. We're looking for sells here, broke under the previous lower lows, usually creates a new lower low, creates back, we do hit our target, we create a new lower high. What do we wait for? Same thing that happened here, same thing that happened here. Support acts into resistance, right? Support acts into resistance, we're selling the market. Once we come into a zone, we're just waiting for break of structure. We have a break of structure right over here. If it makes sense, gives our entry confirmation, perfect. We're taking sells and we target back into the previous lows. So this over here is called counter trend trade, sell or buy, right? This is pretty much us going against the trend, but remember, only take this trade if it does make sense, right? So this is counter trend trade sell, but ideally, whenever price action is in a higher time frame, right? With these time frames over here, these are going to be called, this is going to be considered as a stronger trend, because again, we're looking at it at a higher time frame. The weekly is high. The daily is bullish, the 4-hour is bullish as well. So ideally is to trade with the trend. Now the other thing to take note is that every single time frame, right, is going to have its own price action. Now if I mark an area of resistance in the 4-hour time frame, let's say for example this area of resistance, if I mark this area of resistance on the 4-hour time frame, it's only gonna be valid for the 4-hour time frame. It's not gonna be valid on the 1-hour time frame. It is not going to be valid on the 30-minute time frame or the 15 or even lower, right? It's only going to be valid on the 4-hour time frame, right? And here's the example why. Okay, I marked this area of resistance, but check this out. Price action is all the way down over here. What is this giving me? This is not giving you guys anything, right? This is just telling you on the 4-hour time frame that we did reject this, right? But that doesn't mean that on the lower time frame, we go on the lower time frame, resistance is all the way on top over here, right? You see that? So this already happened. So again, it's not valid. If we look on the lower time frame, yes, there's areas of resistance over here which are called minor resistance, right? So if we go in the 15-minute time frame, yes, there's going to be areas of resistance over here as well. For example, let me just give you guys a quick example. These are resistance, right? We have one over here, we have one over here, which are pretty much just previous highs. And what do we have over here? All the areas of resistance, right? So every single time frame is going to have its own areas of resistance, right? If we look for a good example right over here, okay, we have an areas of support, which turns into resistance, right? If you guys get the idea, every single time frame is going to have its own support and resistance, but though every single time frame is going to have its own support and resistance, right? But it's only going to be valid for that specific time frame. If I mark up for resistance or support at the 5-minute time frame, it's not going to be valid on the 4-hour time frame, right? You guys literally see it. It's not anywhere between these zones over here. So every single time frame is going to have its own support and resistance, right? So if you're looking at, for example, let me just remove everything. If you're looking at right over here, right? If we're looking anywhere between over here, these zones over here are not valid, right? These are not valid area of support or resistance because price action has already taken off. So you guys don't want to be trading already from what price action has done already, right? So don't even focus on what price action did over here. Yes, this could be areas for targets, right? But we're not going to be taking any trades off over here because look at this, price action is right over here. So just focus on what price action is currently doing between these legs over, my bad, I was messy. So just focus on what price action is doing over here. These over here can just be used as targets, right? If obviously we do get confirmation, these can obviously be used as targets, but only focus on what price action is doing over here. Every single time frame is going to have its own, support and resistance, right, levels. So it's only going to be valid for that specific time frame. All right, so now that we pretty much understand the basics, we understand exactly how it works, how to enter the markets off correctly off these zones. I'm just going to give you guys pretty much add everything all together, how I will mark up the charts, right? So pay very close attention because this is exactly what I do every single day. So the first thing that I do every single day when I mark up my charts, right? This is pretty much pre-market analysis, and you guys are supposed to do this every single day. You're going to look at every single higher time frame, exactly what price action is doing. So I start off on the monthly time frame and I look for context clue. In this case, what I'm looking at the monthly time frame is that first of all, obviously we are bullish, but check this out right over here. We have broken above previous highs, right? If we look at the monthly time frame, have we gotten that monthly higher low legs? Not yet, right? So this is going to be considered as a potential area of interest on the higher time frame, right? So if you guys look at it on the weekly time frame, same thing. We just kept breaking above. Pretty much what we're looking for is for pullbacks for something just like this, right? So if you guys notice, what do we have? We have previous highs over here. Price actually broke itself above, right? We never got in that pullback. Ideally is to continue the pullback, or to make sure that this bullish continues to be very, very strong, we need that pullback. Yes, we have this high, we have these higher lows, we have these highs over here. Perfect, right? Now, what do we look for? We look for pullback, higher lows, right? Now, since we're looking at the higher time frame, right, it doesn't mean that right away, because there's going to be times that the market could be bullish for weeks and we still haven't gotten that weekly or monthly pullbacks, right? So this is where us as traders, right, we got to be very patient and very cautious with the market, and obviously just trade with the trend. And if there's any break of structure, any reversal trend on the lower time frame, then obviously we just trade along with it. But in this case, this over here is going to be a context clue, right? Okay, we have broken above these highs over here, but yet we haven't gotten any pullback yet on the weekly time frame. Now let's go in the daily time frame. What are we going to look for in the daily time frame? We're going to look for the same exact thing. Okay, on the daily time frame, we have noticed that price action just kept breaking to the upside, creating these highs, higher lows, and higher highs. What do we look for in the daily time frame? Oh, look what we have, an area of resistance, right? We have these highs right over here, right? So this is on the daily time frame. Okay, I'm like, okay, on the daily time frame, we have new highs form over here. We have broken above these highs over here, right? Go back into the 4-hour time frame. What do we see on the 4-hour time frame? Okay, now that I see that we have these areas of resistance over here, that price action is potentially rejecting, right? Because we have rejected this zone 2 times in a row. One time over here, then price action came back. What do we see? Okay, price action did reject it. Now, I'm going to focus exactly this push over here. What happened in this push? You guys look left. What do we have? Areas of previous highs, right? These are previous highs which price action did manage to reject. So pretty much we swept all of these previous highs over here. which price action managed to maintain itself above as a higher low slash, areas of support. So check this out. Now we go drop down into the 1 hour time frame. What are we looking for? Okay, we are seeing that price action is rejecting these all-time highs, right? Every one time tap over here, we saw a drop. But this drop over here, right, you guys gotta understand, this drop over here, let's put this in another color. This drop over here was just the reversal or the pullback towards these previous highs that has broken above. Okay, yes, we have broken above these previous highs over here, right? So let's just mark this up. Broken above these previous highs, and we're seeing that price action is now rejecting it and remaining up above, creating this support. But now we're heading back to the upside. What happens over here? We have rejected all-time highs once again. We're seeing that price action is now heading to the downside. Now where are we currently at? We're currently back at this area of support. Now, does this mean that I'm gonna look for buys right away? Of course not, right? Why? Because check this out. If we go down into a 30-minute time frame, we are seeing these structures over here. What are these structures doing? Simply, creating new highs and new higher lows, right? So let's mark this up. We have this high, we have these higher lows. Previous highs turns into these lows over here. Highs, and then we have higher lows, all right? These previous highs over here turns into these lows over here. And we just continue heading to the upside, right? Notice how the market is just repeating itself over and over again, right? So just to make it clear for you guys can clearly see perfectly. Look at this. Previous lows, let's put this in, let's just put this blue. We have this one over here. We have these other ones right over here. And then we have this one, which is gonna be right over here. All right, so let's just make this longer, perfect. Notice how price action just continues heading to the upside. Now, we go down into the lower time frame. What do we see? Okay, price action has clearly broken out of this trend over here. But notice it, on the daily time frame, we are still very much bullish on the higher time frame, right? Because yet we haven't broken under these previous higher lows, right? But on the lower time frame, right, you guys can see that we have completely broken under these previous structures over here, which on the lower time frame, it makes it bullish. It makes it bearish. Higher time frame, it makes it bullish, right? Because we're still above these zones, right? It's like if price action is still remaining itself above these zones over here, it's still considered bullish, right? Because yet we haven't broken under, right? Once we broke under, then that's where we wait for that reversal pattern, which is something like this. Okay, now that we have broken under this structure, we're seeing that price action are taking under these lows. Most likely we're going to see rejection, right? Boom, boom, price action does reverse. But as of right now, we're simply seeing these structures right over here. Tap and tap. We're still remaining itself above these previous higher low, which these lows over here is still considered as a low, right? It's still considered as a low because yet we haven't broken under these lows. These previous higher highs over here, right? So we have a higher high here, and what do we have here? This is going to be considered as a high because it was not higher than the other one. It's equal. It's the same exact size, right? Same thing over here. These are equal lows, right? Continues being the same way. But if we go down into the lower time frame, right, you guys can obviously see the switch of trend. From here, we were simply heading to the upside in a bullish market, creating higher highs and higher lows. If we go into a little bit lower time frame, you guys can see that price action has completely broken under the structure, simply creating lower lows and lower highs on the lower time frame, right? So that's just one thing to keep in mind. Now, me, if I'm gonna, look for a setup, what am I gonna be looking for now? Okay, now I'm gonna look left, right? Yes, we are still above this area of support over here, but like I told you, we have to wait for break of structure. We have to wait for break of structure before price action giving us a correct symbol or a correct signal saying that, hey, price is now ready to start taking to the upside, or hey, price is now ready to start switching its structure from this bullish to obviously these bearish. So what are we going to look for now here? We're going to look for previous structure that price action has broken under or above on previous structures, right? So if we look over here, what do we have? Look at this. We have all these lows that price action has broken above, or broken under, right? All of these lows over here. Now, what is the idea? Idea is to see if price action gives us a pullback, because yes, we are at the area of support over here. Most likely price action can start bouncing off over here, but yet it's not going to let us buy the market, right? Because we still got to wait for confirmations. So we're at the area of support. Most likely what I'm going to wait for now is to see how price action reacts towards these zones over here, because these are previous higher low structure that price action has broken under into, right? So let's put this another color. Okay, we're under these zones over here. We're going to get the pullback, right? We have these highs over here and we have a new low. most likely that if price action gives a pullback over here and we are seeing that price action is rejecting these previous higher lows, right, and we do get our entry confirmation, like I told you guys, break of structure, boom, we are seeing something like this, then perfect, we are gonna sell the market, right? This is where we're gonna be looking for our sales position, our stops above these highs over here, and then our take profit anywhere any of these previous targets over here, right? This is the only way that I would be taking this out, right? So if I'm looking this on tomorrow market, I'm like, okay, this is pretty much the idea that I have because we broke under these previous higher lows, right? We have this high, we have these lows, we get a pullback. If we do reject these zones over here, we do see a price action manage to remain itself under. What do we form now? A new lower high. This is where most likely we'll be interested in selling the market all the way back into the downside, right? This is one scenario. Now, the other scenario that can possibly happen, right, is that, okay, if we're going to be waiting for this price action to come back into these zones over here, right, the only way that I'll be interested in buying the market in this case over here is that if price action completely breaks above. If we break above and we close above, we're simply just waiting for minor pullbacks. We have to wait for minor pullback to may see that these higher lows over here is considered as of, they consider strong, right? There's no such thing as being or FOMO, right? You don't want to be FOMO and just enter the market over here. There's no such thing as a great entry, right, or an early entry. You're always going to have to wait for extra confirmation, right? Your confirmations is always going to save you from losses, right? There's no such thing as I got entry right over here and I took all the market right over here. No, you have to wait for a perfect confirmation that price is telling you, hey, we're ready to take off, or hey, we're ready to start dropping, right? So this over here will be another scenario. If we break above these higher lows over here, then this is where we can most likely start looking for our buying position. We'll just wait for those little minor break of structure and obviously start heading back into the upside. So this is two scenarios that I've given you guys. One, how I'm going to be looking for buys. Two, how I'm going to be looking for sells, right? Now, remember when in the first video, how I explained to you guys pretty much the breakouts, right? There's gonna be times that price action doesn't even do neither one or neither two, right? Price action just completely just disrespect everything and they just start heading to the different direction, right? There's gonna be scenarios that price action just, if it opens up very strong, there's gonna be a scenario where price action can just completely break under these lows over here, right? Now, if price action does do that, right, at the previous, if price action does do that on the market open, we start looking for context clues on the previous action, right? So what do we see here? We are seeing previous lows over here. This can be zones where price action can potentially stop, right? This is where price action can potentially stop and then start giving us our reversal. If price action does that, what do we wait for? Okay, now that we have broken under these previous higher lows, we're simply going to wait for pullback. We get the pullback right over here. If we do see that price action does manage to reject these previous lows over here and starts acting as a new lower highs, right? We wait for the same exact entry confirmation, which is break of structure. Boom, boom, and then boom, we continue selling the market, right? So this is pretty much exactly what I do every single day. Hope you guys pretty much understand this video. If you guys have any question, feel free to comment down below. And we're done with this concept, and now we're gonna head to a new lesson. Peace out, everyone.